All right, hi everyone, and welcome to our weekly Thursday EM live on YouTube, our enrollment conversation where we talk all things enrollment marketing. I am super excited. I have three guests this week. We've got, of course, Ashley McQuarrie, who leads our EM team, our enrollment marketing team at Charter School Capital. We have got one of her team members, Jesse Foss, here as well to have a chat. Some of you may recall Jesse and Ashley were all at our national conference digital rebrand bar. So if you were there back in June in Washington, D.C., you may recognize some familiar faces here. And from my lovely team, the marketing team at Charter School Capital, you have my dear friend and colleague, Isabella Marenko, who's also joining us today. I brought all of these fabulous minds together because we're going to be talking about social copywriting for social media, what works, what doesn't, what we're seeing in the space for schools. So we're going to start with a super broad question. What's working for social copy in schools? And I'm going to tee it up to Ashley to start this conversation. Ashley, some thoughts on copywriting for social media. Anything you got for us today?
I think it's important to keep your audience in mind on social media. So for example, if you're a K through 12 school, you serve a broad range. You might be posting more on Facebook, and on Facebook you can have a little bit longer posts. You don't use as many hashtags, that kind of thing. On Instagram, you might also be speaking to more of a parent audience. So you're going to use potentially language and tone that resonates with a parent or even a grandparent. And if you're, say a high school, you might be posting more on Instagram, and you might be using a voice and tone that speaks actually more to the students themselves who might be following you. And you might use a more informal tone. You might use shorter copy and more video or photo assets. So I think keeping kind of who you're talking to and differentiating it for the platform where you're writing copy is really important, rather than just posting the same thing across all the channels.
Yeah, it's such good insights to think about making sure that you're really platform specific, because the way that different audiences consume content in those places is really different from whether you're on Instagram, whether you're on TikTok, whether you're on Twitter and the like. So really important to make sure that that copy is customized, or you make some tweaks that work well in the context of the platform you're in, the social media channel that you're in. Jesse, I want to ask you a question as the writer, the expert writer of this group that we've got today. Tell us what you've been seeing with schools that you worked with last year from a copy perspective.
Yeah, I think Ashley is right on about the audience being the most important part when you're considering what you're going to be writing. Ideally, your social media is going to be a mix of an audience. So you're going to have prospective parents and you're going to have current families too. So you always want to keep in mind what those two different audiences need and need to find out from you. So if you have a prospective family, don't be afraid to call them out, and in a positive way, but in a let them know who you're talking to so that they kind of cue in, because you are interrupting their feed as they're scrolling through social media. You want to make sure that they know, oh, hey, I want to cue in right here and find out what this is about. So it might even be as simple as, are you considering enrolling? And then your audience knows who you're talking to. But you'll also probably have a mix of posts for current families. It might be talking about sports events. It might be holidays, other things that are coming up. And so also making sure that your audience knows that you're talking to them as well. And then the other point that we all know about social media is just making it short and sweet and direct to the point. We tend to keep to around 115 characters, even across most of the platforms, because we know that they're not going to spend a lot of time reading through a long story. So short, sweet, to the point.
I think that's such good insights and sort of taking us in an interesting direction today. Jesse, you had in terms of just understanding, like, it's not all just about enrolling new families. It's also about making sure that you're building brand for your current families, right? And, talking about maybe the challenges that you're having as a school for those current families and what current families need to be thinking about in the context of the school. So I think that's such important to make sure that you've got a healthy balance of both content that's trying to drive interest in the school, content that's trying to drive new families and new conversations, and also content that helps balance what current families are doing. I want to take a quick pause here and just remind everyone that's joined us. We're here every single week, at least most Thursdays. We're going to take a little break next week as the winter holidays are upon us, but we're here every Thursday talking for just 10 minutes about all things enrollment marketing. As we get into January, it's a really important time for schools to be thinking about both the 2023 and 24 years. If you want ideas of how to think about that early, Ashley and I had a really great conversation 2 weeks ago. Just check back on YouTube on our channel. It's all up there to see those insights there. I want to turn the conversation to Isabella for a quick second and just ask you as someone that spends the majority of your time helping us craft our presence on social media as a brand. What are some thoughts you have related to copy for brands and social media that you've seen or recommendations that have worked for us over the last year or so?
Yeah. Oh man, what's worked for us? I think, well, for our audience, it's so different where we talk to a lot of associations and groups, and we do talk to schools, and we're trying to be like a resource hub for you folks. So a lot of graphs work for us. So copy in the text itself is fine, but we love graphs. I think that's anything that's screenshotable. I always say, like, if I can screenshot that, that's perfect, because then I could share it on our story, or I could send it to somebody in a DM. So yeah, I always recommend something like a good still is awesome. Even like reels are so big right now. So we're trying to switch more to reels. So anything that's like a little bite, we're just grabbing at it. It's awesome.
I think that's such a good soundbite. Anything that's screenshotable. Let's put that in air quotes for everyone. I mean, that's what schools should be going for as well, right? How do you get someone to take a screenshot so it's like in their photo roll, in their camera roll, right? Such a good insight there from Isabella. You mentioned something that I want to touch on related to social, and that's reels. So video. I know our schools this year, Ashley and team, you worked on the TikTok platform with schools. Obviously, you're working in Instagram with reels. Let's talk about specifically copy with those things, copy on overlays inside the videos, or what should we be thinking caption wise? Do we need hashtags in that copy? Any thoughts from all three of you here related to we look at stories and content that's more video based? What should we be thinking from a copy perspective?
I really like limited copy on reels and on pictures. I just think that the picture and the video itself is really telling the story, and you don't want to interrupt that too much. Captions are important at times though, because a lot of people listen to reels without the sound on. So that can be an important part, but keeping it short and sweet. And then if you need some sort of call to action somewhere in there, making sure that you have an appropriate link that works and direct them where you want them to go, so they know what they need to do at the end of watching what you've done.
Yeah, those you touched on a couple of key things there that I just want to highlight for our school leaders that are listening. Captions, so important, because I don't know the stat. Maybe someone on this chat can educate me. But I can't remember the stat of people that actually listen to reels and the audio on TikTok, but it's more that don't than I think do. And so captions are so important. And for school leaders, there's some tools, right, that school leaders can utilize to generate those captions. What are some of those tools that you've seen use? And this goes to anyone on this team.
We definitely use YouTube. YouTube has when we're doing captions on YouTube, and it also allows you to translate. A lot of the schools we work with, we need to translate their videos into something, often Spanish. And so it makes it pretty easy to just use the built-in platform tools and then just double check that translation. We always check it with, we download the document and check it with a native language speaker. But, so usually there's some built-in tools. I know Instagram has some captions, and you just want to not totally rely on those and actually go back and review and correct them. But it can, that's a pretty simple way to do that. And then there's other like transcript type tools if you have a longer video where you can create a transcript. I think one of the important things that I wanted to touch on is, because we're talking about copy and we're kind of shifting to video, but it's actually also taking that time to craft a caption. Even if you're doing a video, whether your caption is something that will compel somebody to actually watch the video rather than keep scrolling. Some people, Instagram's pushing videos, but not everybody engages with them the same way, especially older audiences. So taking the time to write a caption that either they can read the caption and get the message, or it'll kind of compel them to watch that video. Same thing with photos, to not just post a photo with no caption, but to take that opportunity to use the caption and tell a little story. Again, going back to talking to prospective families and current families, it's an opportunity to talk about the event or the activity or what you're doing. And it also is really important if you have text on an image, because screen readers, for people with disabilities, they can't always parse of an image with text. So you really want to include a caption as well that has those relevant details.
Yeah, such a good insight to make any of your social content as accessible as possible. We see, if you're looking for brands, often do that in the caption, right? They'll have the alt tag image, even the alt text actually spelled out, describing the image that's within that social post. We're right at the top of our 10 minutes, so I'm going to ask one final question, and that's, what is the best thing you want to leave school leaders with in terms of what's the best tip for copy? And so I'm going to let you all three think about that for a second while I wrap this up, and then I'll turn to each one of you. We're here every Thursday at 10 a.m. Pacific, 1 p.m. Eastern, talking all things enrollment marketing for about 10 minutes. We're going to take a break next week, as it is the break for the winter holidays, and we should all be spending time with our significant others, families, and friends, hopefully during that time. So we will not be here next Thursday. But if you want a little refresh, if you will, we've got some videos from our past weeks you should take a look at. We talked about the importance of starting your EM campaigns as early as possible about 2 weeks ago. And then we shifted the conversation to a variety of tactics that different types of schools, year one through mature schools, can utilize from an enrollment marketing perspective. So come back and we'll see you in the new year in 2 weeks, 2 Thursdays from now, or 3 Thursdays from now. I can't remember the date exactly when we're coming back, but you can follow us on YouTube, subscribe on YouTube, and you'll get those alerts. But if you've got any last minute questions, feel free to pop them in the chat. And now that I've given you all ample time to think about this last question, what's the final tip that you want to leave school leaders with as it relates to copy for social media? And I'm going to turn to Isabella first. What's your tip?
Oh man. Well, I just read recently on there's a photographer that I love called Ethan Barber, and he was talking about social tips for the year and like what he would recommend. And he said Reels is just a way for your non-followers to find you. So think of them as moving images. Just to Jesse's point, you don't really need copy in Reels. Like, we just want to see kids' faces. We want to see what you're doing. We want to see the activities that are going on, and then utilize that caption to tell the story. And then in your in-house posts, those are for your followers. So talk more specific, like the upcoming basketball games or specific events that are coming up. That's my tip. Yeah.
Such a good insight. I mean, Reels is really being over-indexed by the team at Meta in that Explore tab, right? And as people see them coming into their home feeds, that's all based on what content Meta thinks is most relevant to that specific person on those platforms. So such a good insight. From Ashley, I'm going to go to you next. What's the last thing we can leave school leaders with as it relates to social copy?
I'm going to reveal a personal pet peeve here. Taking the time to just check your copy before you post. If you're a school, you're all about education. You're teaching kids grammar and English, and so you really want to make sure that whatever you're publishing on any of your school platforms, your websites, your social media channels is, it's accurate and grammatically correct. No spelling errors. It really is kind of a billboard about your school. And so taking the time to check your captions, install maybe a browser plugin like Grammarly to double check your captions while you're writing them. And then just checking, if you're making graphics with text, making sure you got all the punctuation and everything correct on those it just can help you put your best foot forward on social media.
For sure. Grammarly is one of our favorite tools at Charter School Capital. It saves my life every single day. And I would encourage school leaders to utilize it too. It really does, I think, make me look way smarter than I actually am. So such a great tip there. And last but not least, and by the way, we got a question, so I'm actually going to turn to this question. Do you all have like 2 more minutes we can stay on? Can we stay on for 2 more minutes? Awesome. Great. But I'm going to turn it over to Jesse to say what's one thing you want to leave school leaders with related to copy and social media?
Yeah, I love an invitation from a post or a reel that I see. So seeing that you're speaking directly to maybe a prospective family and saying, come join us, or we're enrolling now, or any action that you want them to be able to take, but also extending a hand and saying, we're here, we're open, we'd love to have you join us is a really nice way to leave a post.
Such a good tip for sure. Give them the warm and fuzzies, right? We are emotional beings at the end of the day. And I don't know about you, I love some good emotion inside of some copy on social media. Okay, our friend video guy Jared, who joined us last week with so many great questions, has another question for us. And I think these are two great questions that are very related. And I'm going to turn to Ashley and Jesse on these two questions. Who are you targeting with social media enrollment marketing, the student or the parent? And in your experience, does marketing tend to excite students or parents more? I would love your insights, Ashley and Jesse, on this one. So who are we targeting when we're on social? Is it the student? Is it the parent? Is it the both? Are there other audiences too? What say you?
Yeah, this really depends on the type of school that you are. Obviously, your kindergartner is not on social media and they're not going to be reading. But if you're a high schooler and you're looking for a specific type of school, you could be there and you could be searching and trying to find the right fit for you. So I really tailor it to the school. Middle school, I'm still mostly writing to parents, but I try to make it a little more fun and energetic so that they kind of get the feel that like it's a great fit and we understand the unique middle school mind. But yeah, definitely tailored to the age group that you're working with.
And Ashley, any thoughts there?
Yeah, I mean, in terms of what works, I think parents are busy and they want to know kind of what your ask is, what the action item is. So I think a more direct marketing message sometimes can work better. I think kids, they know when they're being marketed to. They've grown up with ads and I think they're savvy to that. And so anytime you can tell a story or actually spotlight a student, that's something that we see. Anytime that we can highlight a student or a favorite teacher and just kind of tell a story about them and get kids engaged with that. They like to see themselves on social. They like to see their friends. And so we tend to, and parents too, that just people resonate, we see. So anytime we can tell a story about a person and highlight the people that make the school special on social media, we tend to see that content perform really well with both kids and adults.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, such good insights there from the both of you. Well, we are at now 18 minutes after the hour, so we've gone well over our 10-minute threshold. We're going to wrap it up for today. I want to extend a thanks to all three of you, incredibly talented enrollment marketers and marketers that had us join. Isabella from my team, thanks for being here. To Ashley, our lead in the enrollment marketing team, I greatly appreciate your commitment to these every single week, and to Jesse for joining us. I hope all of you, well, Ashley will be on when we come back in a couple of weeks. Of course, she's on this journey with me forever and ever. But Jesse and Isabella, I hope you'll come back and grace us with your intelligence and smarts for all our school leaders out there. With that, I will say happy holidays to all of you. We hope you have an incredible winter break. And we will see you back here in just a few weeks for more EM knowledge every Thursday, right here on YouTube Live with experts on enrollment marketing. We'll be here at 10 a.m. Pacific. That is 1 p.m. Eastern time. And of course, all the various time zones in between. Thanks again for taking the time to join us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Bye.
Y'all can head out when you want to, by the way.
Okay.
Thank you, Jesse. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Bye-bye. How do I leave? Just